So Jimmy Butler would like you to believe that the T-Wolves would have fallen off a cliff without him, but that is not the case, as they have been on a surge since trading for Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and Jared Bayless. And I would say there are two reasons for this. One, the roster makes more sense, but two, the team isn't miserable. It's difficult to play when your best player, one, thinks you all suck, two, makes it known that he wants to be traded, right? And I think the biggest example of all this is with Karl Anthony Towns' play recently. But there are some other things, one of which is one of the guys they took back in the move. Robert Covington has been great as he has kind of transformed this team's defense, and that is where we are going to go to first. Covington has made such a bigger defensive impact than Jimmy Butler ever could for this team. His versatility is among the best in the league, whether it's coming across a screen to defend a point guard, bringing help on a big man, and then stripping the ball away from him, stealing a cross-court pass. Covington can do whatever Tom Thibodeau asks of him. He's also the perfect Tibbs kind of a guy because it seems like he can play 40 minutes a night, no problem. He's averaging 3 steals a game for the T-Wolves as well as 1 block a game as well. And if he keeps this up, I think he's going to be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Typically, centers are the guys who can make a team amazing defensively immediately, but Covington has been so good for these guys that he's been able to do it defending along the perimeter most of the time. And the reason why Jimmy wasn't able to do this is because he had to focus so much on offense, right? Also, if we're being honest, Covington's probably just a little better than him. But what's crazy is all of Covington's energy and attention to defense has spilled over to Karl Anthony Towns as well. Towns is looking way more awake than he ever has defensively. Plays like this one where he closes out to Al Horford and then forces him to make another pass. Or here when he traps DeMar DeRozan and then goes in a sprint towards the basket so Dante Cunningham can't get an easy layup. Blows up the pick and roll with Kyrie here, gets back down to Horford. On this one, he is able to deny Patty Mills going baseline and he forces him to pass it out. Towns is finally using all of that athleticism to be a real presence. He's had moments of this throughout his career. I mean, he hasn't always been a disaster defensively. But for the first time since maybe his rookie season, he's being consistent with all this stuff. I mean, he's even switching on to perimeter players and having a chance there. And of course, this is a far cry from this season and the previous year when Jimmy Butler was his teammate, where Towns didn't seem like he was always interested in defending, whether that was not really knowing how to defend, or perhaps Jimmy Butler was kind of right and Towns needed a bit of a wake-up call. Whatever it may be, but he's rewritten the ship basically since Robert Covington and Dario Saric showed up. Some extra motivation I have to assume is a part of this. So the T-Wolves didn't just get themselves 1 new defender, they effectively got themselves 2, which is a hell of an upgrade from what they had before. But of course, there are 2 sides to the floor, and now the offense just kind of has a better flow to it. What's weird is that Karl Anthony Towns is not averaging like a lot more shots a game. He's putting up about 16 shots a game, which is pretty close to what it was when Jimmy was there. But at least now there's no awkwardness towards who's going to shoot the most. It's going to be Towns, and I do expect his shot attempts to go up as the season progresses here. But we do have to give some credit to Robert Covington once again, because just having more shooting out there seems to have quite an effect for these guys. Jimmy Butler is the better offensive player between these two, but Covington just spacing out and shooting about 7 threes a game at a 40% clip has proven to be perhaps just as impactful for these guys, especially because Karl Anthony Towns has woken up. I mean, Covington has just been amazing for them, is the best way to put it. Now, we also need to talk about Derrick Rose, who continues to make everybody on Twitter cry because he just keeps putting up these solid performances. He had a 20-point game not long ago. Of course, he had that huge 50-point game against the Jazz. Derrick Rose's jump shot is just way better than it ever has been. There does seem to be a little bit of an adjustment to it, whether he jumps a little higher, brings it a little higher up over his head. I can't quite pin it down, but it's working. And then he's still being able to beat guys off the dribble, and now defenders need to respect him a little bit more when he's coming off of screens and all that. And him and Karl Anthony Towns have been a big reason why this offense has maintained being good enough without Jimmy Butler. Now, the other notable guy who got moved in the deal was Dario Saric. He has not been as on fire as Covington has, I guess. His three-pointer has still been a little down, but he's had a few moments here and there. Even so, though, the defense has to care about him chilling on the three-point line, and that's still something. That definitely helps you out, and we would hope that he can pick it up as the season goes. The only guy we're really waiting on now at this point is Andrew Wiggins, but still, the fact that this team has actually gotten better without Jimmy is pretty wild.